June 2008 was really around alliances. We started marketing Intelliman and the online sales application that we put into Australia globally under the Intelligent Life umbrella. We committed some funding and some skills and some time to see if we could get this to work. Ed and Steve, who we joined forces with, already had a relationship with a global reinsurer. They were just starting to develop that relationship. They'd managed to get themselves invited along to a global conference for that reinsurance group, and so they managed to tap in and meet a few CEOs of reinsurers around the world. And we agreed that we'd fund an initial sales trip to South Africa, the UK and Hong Kong in October 2008. And I've just finished a follow-up to South Africa, which resulted in our second implementation just recently. For that extended team, now that we had this alliance, we had two new partners, and we had a few differences. We had a cultural difference, so to South Africans, our vision was a bit different. I was looking to build a long-term sustainable business, and they were really, how can we, with each sale, maximise the amount we can get for the licence and bank, and spend it. So our objectives were a bit different, and our risk-reward profile was different, and our experience was certainly different. We'd come from big-scale insurance companies, big budgets, used to doing things, and one of them had come from a small business background, and so there was quite a gap between our expectations and what people would pay for things. But I had learned my lesson from the first shareholding that we'd got into, and the first thing that we've done is work through operating principles and the shareholders agreement. And by working through our operating principles, we've actually learned quite a lot and uncovered, there's been a lot of discussion. It's taken quite a few coffees to work it through, but if you can't agree on it at that level, if you can't agree on it at a principle level, you're not going to agree on it when it all falls over down the track. We also tried bringing in contract expertise on a success fee basis. We had a legal counsel, I guess, who was really keen to be involved, and the deal that had been done was come along and do it, and if we sell a licence, you'll get 5%. And that sounds great. And that was and she'd been working on that basis as we set up representatives agreements in some different countries, and we did non-disclosure agreements, and we started to build on our standard licensing agreements and things we would have before. But when no sales come, and no sales are in the pipeline, and the UK in particular is quite a slow market to get established in, she started to question how much time she was putting into it. So risk and reward's great, and people buy into it because they think they're going to get the reward, and that they're going to get the reward soon. When the reward doesn't come soon, then it's risk, and then suddenly it's like, oh, but I'm doing this for nothing. But that's when they start to question whether that's what they want to be part of or not. So what I've learned from that is you have to be careful who you offer that kind of deal to, because it doesn't suit everybody. So we set up representatives in the UK. The reinsurer's been quite good, from leads, valuable introductions you wouldn't get otherwise, and credibility, because in reality we're a small New Zealand company. We don't have the capital backing behind us. People say, let me have a look at your financials, and it's like, what can I do to avoid showing them that? How big's your staff? It doesn't matter how big our staff was, we're still tin pot when it comes on a global scale. And saying we work on a small team because we are flexible and smart, and we do things in ways that we don't need to have big teams. That's not what people, when you're selling to them, want to hear. They want to hear you've got 40 staff and a balance sheet and this much money in the bank, and then you're credible, and then they'll deal with you. So we had to find some way of getting credibility. And that we could bring on project resource that we needed. So that's how we've been running the team as we start to enter those offshore markets. In where we're going from here. The South African business it's interesting, it's a mix of equity for the licence, not cash. And I said our business model was having cash. So when you don't get a licence fee then, and when you're because you're taking equity, then it changes the whole dynamics of that startup business, of the business that you've got equity in, because you can't charge really high consulting fees either, because you're essentially just robbing Peter to pay Paul. So there's some different dynamics, and we hadn't thought about equity stakes. When we started off, we thought the model would be cash and then support maintenance licences. But what we're doing with the South African one is that they're looking to do a global financial services startup, and that our system will provide the technology to do that, and will provide the implementation services. So ideal from our perspective, because I don't have to be out there doing the hard yards, doing the sales and marketing. They will already do that, and through their contacts they can do it. And our job is to come along and extend their technology and provide the services and do the implementations, and that's what we're good at. That's our expertise. And at the same time, that brings a challenge of how do you keep the business going. And what I'm just starting to work through is, in the short term, you want to still keep your current clients and get some existing and keep some new clients, because you do need to have more. You do need to have some profit at the end of the day. We're also looking now more back to the New Zealand market. Interestingly enough, once you get overseas clients, it lends credibility to the New Zealand market. When we first went around, people, they were like, come back and see us when you've sold it. A number of times. It's that whole peer reference thing that they need to have. But it doesn't apply so much when you go back to talk to the same people and they say, how are you going? And you say, oh, well, we've implemented in Australia, we're supporting New Zealand, we're starting a South African project and Germany's rolling out after that. They go, oh, well, would you like to do a proposal for us for such and such? So that whole credibility is quite important. We're continuing with the UK because something will happen there eventually, but everything's really slow. And the Asian markets, and other developing markets where there's growth. We expect out of what we're doing that there will be dilution to fund the expansion that we need to do. And having worked through it with the first investor that came along, and having worked through the model that we see working in terms of expansion, that's something that we're now comfortable with as an extended team. Just to say a bit more about that, although we worked through doing and understood if you want to grow, then you need to dilute to get the cash. When an opportunity came up for South African company to take an investment stake in us, the other partners we went through the whole thing again, but I want control, I don't want someone telling me what I'm doing, I don't want to go back to just having a job, I need to keep control of how this whole thing works. And so by bringing on new people into the team, when the question came up about another investor coming on, we had to go through the same process again. So a few things I thought that could take away from today, and I'm sure this is all things that you've read about and you go, what I can say is everything you've read about, it's all true. So everything takes at least twice as long and it costs twice as much. You need to learn from others, that other people have been there and done that, and you're no different even if you think you are. And we were like that. We thought, I'd read it and I'd go, oh, I wouldn't do that. And then you'd realise, because you'd read a bit and you understood the model, when you were in the track, you'd go, I'm doing that. But if you have the context, you recognise it. Startup team culture is different. It's not the same as a corporate or a project team. And if you bring on people who've